Which Epiphone Les Paul should you buy? The more traditional Les Paul Custom or the modern Les Paul Prophecy? Let's put them head to head and find out. Welcome back dudes, it's great to see you. I'm Jack, and in this video, to celebrate me getting over the dreaded Rona, we're going to deep dive into the details of both the Epiphone Les Paul Custom and the Epiphone Les Paul Prophecy to find out which is the right guitar for you. I love them both, but it can be really hard to decide between the two. They're definitely different animals, and the one that you put your hands on depends entirely on what you want out of your own Les Paul. It's time for round one. I think it's fair to say that the first reason we're drawn to a guitar is because of how it looks. No one, as far as I know, wants to play a guitar that looks like a plank stuck to a bin lid. Well, there's no risk of that here. The Les Paul is such an iconic shape and, in my opinion, one of the best looking guitar models ever made. Both of these guitars take that classic shape but do different but awesome things with it. Starting with the traditional first, the Custom is the exact image that most people think of when they hear the words Les Paul. It's classy and sophisticated, with all this gold hardware, 7-ply binding, and these chunky block inlays that give it massive presence. And dude, I mean, look at that massive custom inlay on the headstock. That's actually new to the revamped lineup, thank God. The older models had the custom inlay, but it was tiny and just really it wasn't that cool. I reckon that this is a guitar that can fit in anywhere. Like, the first person I think of when I think of a Les Paul custom player is Matt Heafy from Trivium, and they're one of the biggest metal bands in the world. But the custom could go in the hands of any player, from the likes of Matt Heafy and Zakk Wylde to like Peter Green and Joe Bonamassa. Whatever style of music you play, a Les Paul custom will always look the part. Next, let's talk about the Prophecy with its meaner, more modern aesthetic. It keeps a lot of what makes a Les Paul custom awesome, but takes into heavier territory, with the age gloss black finishes, the modern coloured bursts, and all the nickel hardware. Even the little touches like the speed knobs being replaced for these knurled metal domes give it a much more aggressive vibe, but even then, I don't think it's overstated. This isn't Eddie Munson's BC Rich Warlock by any means. I mean, I wouldn't personally take a Prophecy to a blues jam, but it wouldn't look as out of place as something like this. Aesthetics are completely subjective though, and I'm a huge fan of the way both of these guitars look. Honestly, I'm finding it difficult to choose between them. If someone threatened to burn all my guitars, I think I'd choose the Prophecy, but I change my mind on a daily basis. They both just look so good. In terms of features, one's a classic workhorse and the other one's a modern machine. The Custom stays in line with its long heritage, and if you're looking for a Les Paul that does that, then this is the one. Even more so now that these inspired by Gibson guitars are even closer to the real deal with period correct wiring. With this guitar, you get the classic mid-rangey tones that you're looking for, but actually push these pickups a little bit and they sound hard, dude. These newer Epiphone Pro Bookers are definitely capable and I like them a lot, but with the wrong rig you can end up in muddy territory. Otherwise, everything here is just as Gibson intended. You've got regular Grover tuners, 22 medium jumbo frets, a full thickness body, and no weight relief. If you've got a bad back, then maybe you shouldn't be buying a Les Paul Custom is all I'm saying, especially this because it is heavy. But maybe you've got a bad back because of Les Pauls. In that case, you do you, man. The Prophecy is a different beast altogether when you start checking out the spec sheet. It's more like the list of specs from a shred machine like an Ibanez or an ESP or something like that, and I am totally about that. The first thing that makes this guitar stand out from its older sibling is the pickup loadout. Proprietary Fishman Fluence pickups as standard with dual voices and a coil split.
With triple single coil pickups and a whammy bar.
That, if I'm totally honest, is the main reason I picked up this guitar, and I am not disappointed at all. The easiest way to describe it is that it's still got the Les Paul sound but passed through like a super articulate filter, and they're flexible too. This guitar sounds just as good clean as it does driven and everywhere in between. Epiphone have really outdone themselves with this one in terms of sound. You've also got Grover locking tuners, 24 jumbo frets, and then the modern style neck heel as well as contour carves. Basically, everything that helps you get the best out of a guitar. As you know, I'm a metal dude generally speaking, so it's natural that I gravitate towards this model, but I honestly think with specs like that, who could disagree? So the Prophecy takes round 2 if you like a guitar to be packed with enough features to take on anything. On the other hand, the Custom does exactly what it says on the tin. It's an inspired by, true to form rendition of Gibson's most iconic guitar, even if that does mean it doesn't compromise, and that might be exactly what you're looking for. Before I tell you how they both play, I just want to say thank you so much. This channel just reached 1,000 subscribers, which is completely unbelievable. I'm humbled that so many of you awesome people took the time to watch my videos, let alone subscribe. If you do like what I'm doing here and you want to support the channel, the best thing you can do is just hit the like button. It makes a huge difference in letting the YouTube overlords know that it was worth your time. And if you do want to see more of this internet idiot talk about guitars, I would love for you to be a subscriber. Also, reach out in the comments if you want to chat. I love hearing from you. Anyway, let's get back to it. This has been the hardest round for me to score, I'll be completely honest. On paper, the Prophecy should take it, but it's really not that simple. These guitars feel quite similar. They both use variations of Gibson's slim taper neck profile, which apparently is meant to be Gibson's fastest neck profile and meant to reduce fatigue in the hands. I kind of agree with that, to be fair. It is a thinner profile and it's definitely comfortable. The slight difference in the necks is that the Custom uses a regular slim taper, whereas the Prophecy uses an asymmetrical slim taper, which is a fancy way of saying that it leaves more material on the treble side of the neck so that there's more wood for your thumb to make contact with as you're playing on the higher strings. I personally don't think there's that much in it. They're both great feeling and playing necks, and I wouldn't make a decision based on that alone, but this is where the big differences come in. The Custom is traditional by every sense of the word, and that means you get a gloss neck, the fat neck heel, and then that normal awkward upper fret access that you get on Les Pauls. The Prophecy attempts to rectify that by using the modern style neck heel and removes a fair bit of material at the neck joint. That does give better upper fret access, but it still feels like a Les Paul when you're really getting up there. It also has the same age gloss finish on the back of the neck, which in theory sounds great, but in practice it still has a tendency to get a bit sticky, so it's really not that much different from a traditional gloss. The biggest thing that I found is that the pickup spacing is different on both guitars due to the number of frets. The Prophecy's got 24 frets like I mentioned, which means the neck is longer, and that pushes the neck pickup a little bit further back towards the bridge in comparison to the Custom. That means that the gap in between the pickups on the Prophecy is slightly smaller, and due to my right hand position, I catch the neck pickup occasionally when I'm picking, and that's a bit annoying. The 24 frets on the Prophecy actually changed the geometry of the guitar in other ways too. The neck's got to be longer to accommodate for the 24 frets, but because it retains the 24 3/4 inch scale length, that also brings the bridge forward a little bit. So the guitar is longer overall, making the reach to the first fret a little bit further than you were expecting and pushing your right hand forward a little bit. To me, that makes the Prophecy lose a little bit of its Les Pauliness, and it actually feels more like an SG or something when it's on your knee. It's not that big of a deal if you're used to playing a variety of guitars, but if you are an absolute diehard Les Paul fan, then this will definitely feel different for you, I'm sure. But the final edge from a playability standpoint the Prophecy does have are the jumbo frets. They are much easier to play on than the medium jumbos on the Custom, but I don't really think that seals the deal. Overall, I think I've got to give round 3 to the Custom. Having played them both loads, I just think that the Custom feels more like a true Les Paul. The gloss doesn't even really feel that terrible on your left hand. It might not even bother you anyway. Your right hand is in the correct picking position, and then there's more space in between pickups so there's not as much stuff getting in your way. Obviously, take my opinions with a pinch of salt, whatever that means. That's something that YouTubers say, innit? This is my experience and we all play differently, so yours might be completely different. The best advice I can give is to get both of these in your hands and see which one plays better to you. That way you can really test out what I'm saying. So it's time for the final round. I'm going to put both these guitars head to head on a track using minimal processing and trade riffs so that you can hear what both of these sound like in comparison to each other. Let's get right into it. So, in true sporting fashion, because this is as close as I get to sport if it's not a skateboard or a mountain bike, it's come right down to the wire. Both these guitars have really strong features, and that made this entire thing incredibly difficult to call. But there is a winner, and it might not come as a surprise to some of you. The Les Paul that I think you should buy is the Epiphone Les Paul Prophecy, but it really did only take this win by an inch. In the end, it's the versatility and the features that you get with this guitar that made me choose this one. It's just more flexible, has much better tuning stability, and sounds exceptional in any circumstance that you can throw it into. Both guitars absolutely have their merits, and this should definitely be a personal preference thing. If you like the Custom more, then that is the one you should get because it is still a sick guitar. It all comes down to the fact that primarily I am a metal player, and the Prophecy just does it better than the Custom does. Now, if the Custom had Fishmans and lock-in tuners, then it would have been much more difficult to call. Just imagine that, dude. Gold Fishmans and modern features in the Koa, that would be special. But do you agree or disagree with my choice? I would love to hear your take on it down in the comments. I really can't thank you enough for watching and supporting the channel. It means a huge amount to me. YouTube reckons that you'll like this video next, but if you want to hear more about each of these guitars, you can watch my previous videos on the channel. But with that, take care mate, stay safe. I'll see you later.